Foreign Rider is my favorite apparel brand, hands down. Founded by my friend Ralph Dunning, a pioneer in the apparel industry with over 30 years of experience, he built this company for people like us, riders, explorers, creators, those who live active lives and need gear that can keep up. When I'm training, I wear the Odyssey collection. It keeps me cool, dry, and performing better for longer. When I'm traveling or just relaxing at home, the Solace collection is my go-to for unmatched comfort. But the real standout for me is the Merino base layers. They keep you warm, dry, and feeling perfect under a waxed canvas jacket for those cooler rides. And when it's hot, like it is here in Florida, the Odyssey long sleeve tee keeps me super cool and comfortable all day long. The fit, the feel, the quality of these products is on another level. And that's why I literally wear them every single day. Foreign Rider isn't just clothing, it's a mindset. A reminder to live with intention, to choose quality over quantity, and the exploration of freedom, whatever freedom means to you. Check out the full collection at foreignrider.com. Once you wear it, there's no going back. Welcome to Ride Beyond, where we go beyond the ride and into what matters. In this podcast, you'll find meaningful conversations with people who live with passion, chase freedom, and remind us what it means to live fully. The motorcycle is our connection, but the stories are what take us beyond. How's it going, guys? Welcome to the final solo episode of 2025. It's been a crazy, gnarly year. There's been a lot of ups and a lot of downs, a lot of change, and I feel like I've been tested. I've been tested in many ways throughout the year, and it's been a pretty difficult one. I'm not gonna lie. 2025 has been really hard, but it's also came with a lot of things to celebrate. So I started out the year getting engaged to an amazing woman, which is obviously really cool. And I worked the first half of the year. I spent working toward this goal of starting this podcast, and we launched it this summer. And the last 5-6 months has been an amazing success, thanks to all of you guys who have listened to this thing, and my brand partners who have stepped up to support me and believe in this vision. And the podcast has done way better than I would have expected in the first several months. So I mean, recently the Spotify Wrapped came out, and that's always a fun time each year. And this is my first year seeing that as a creator. So it was fun to dive into like some numbers and see how the podcast was doing after the first 5 months. And it was very enlightening and encouraging. Let me pull up some stats I took some screenshots on my phone just because it was really cool. As I was flipping through my Spotify Wrapped, some really cool accomplishments were that it was one of the most talked about shows in 2025. Says that Ride Beyond received more comments than 96% of other shows. That's really cool. It was an instant hit. It says my debut season was more popular than 97% of other shows, which is really freaking cool. There's a 2025 marathon show. So that means that fans listened to this podcast for longer than 95% of other shows, which is just insane. Our top countries were United States, Australia, Canada, United Kingdom, Germany. And one of the coolest stats was that this show was in the top 5% of shows on Spotify, which is just insane to me after only a couple months. And it's really encouraging to see how this thing has started to gain momentum. And I think just the consistency and being lucky enough to get on incredible guests that, you know, have amazing stories and these interesting conversations that we can have. I just feel so lucky for that opportunity. And again, I'm super grateful for everyone who's tuned in and helps me bring this thing to life and make it something that actually matters, and hopefully have some meaningful conversations that, you know, are either just entertainment for you guys or hopefully provide some value in your own life. That's the goal. So it's been a very positive year on the business front, in the fact that this thing was such a success in its launch phase, and I'm really excited for what 2026 has in store for the podcast. It's just been nothing but epic. On the flip side, you know, personal life has been really freaking hard this year. It just feels like Murphy's Law, man. Anything that could go wrong has gone wrong. I feel like, you know, we've been just getting kicked in the nuts every step along the way. Like everything from major, we just moved. So, like, spending the summer moving itself is stressful, and that's a lot. Moving across the country, starting a new life in a new place, and, you know, dealing with that whole process at the same time as this podcast was launching was really crazy. And then just getting here, and we bought an older home that's kind of more of a fixer upper, and there's more issues than we expected. So there's been some major maintenance repairs that have really been financially expensive and challenging. That's been tough. You know, I sound like pathetic, but my truck just broke down recently, and that was like a massive repair that I had to fix before going on this last road trip, and I wasn't able to like feel comfortable in taking my truck on that trip, so I ended up renting a truck to drive across the country and back, and that was, you know, thousands and thousands of dollars to fix my truck, thousands of dollars to rent something for the last 3 weeks and drive back and forth across the country. And it's just been one thing after another. Issues with our dogs and issues with family and some like very scary health issues with people close to us. And I mean, about 2 weeks ago, I don't have to get in too much detail, but it appears that my identity was stolen, and somebody was able to get into my online banking, change my login credentials, kick me out. These really advanced hackers fraudsters that had gotten into my account, masked the phone number as Wells Fargo, called me from a Wells Fargo phone number, texted me from a Wells Fargo phone number, tricked me into thinking that it was Wells Fargo. Long story short, in the matter of about 2 hours, I lost all my money. Everything everything I have worked for was just gone. Honestly, it's been like one of the lowest points of my life. It's been really, really hard. It's the whole situation is under investigation, and I don't want to talk too much about it because I don't know how much I should say. But it's been really scary and frustrating, and I went for 2 years without pay working at my last company just because I believed we could turn it around, and I kept grinding and grinding and grinding, and we dug a hole so deep that eventually I had to walk away from that, and now it was time to rebuild. I dedicated this year to rebuild, start fresh, and I did it. And I killed it, and I was able to claw my way back out of this hole and get back onto solid ground and making money again and doing something meaningful. And as soon as I got there, it's all been just ripped away again. And that's been that's been a really challenging thing. Not to mention I was traveling in California and I was in Orange County. My Airbnb is in Temecula. I get this phone call. My All my cards have been frozen. All my online banking is frozen. My rental truck with my podcast trailer connected to the back is almost out of gas. I don't have enough money to get to my Airbnb. So I'm stranded in this parking lot with no finances. I couldn't eat. I couldn't drink any water. I was just stuck in this parking lot and stranded with no idea what to do. Thankfully, my fiance like Ubered me a burrito from Chipotle to like, get me some dinner as I sat in this parking lot for the night, calling the police and filing police reports and coming to the realization that like everything I had worked for over the last year had just been wiped out. And it was probably the worst night of my life. It was scary and um I don't know why these things happen to good, honest, hardworking people and the people out there who are committing fraud and stealing from honest, hardworking people. Like, I don't know, it's so evil with no remorse for how negatively you're affecting someone's life. But I'm gonna keep fighting for to get my funds back. I don't know. I really hope that I'm able to recover some of it. And either way, um, I've had to just accept circumstances for what they are, and I think like acceptance is just such a powerful thing. I felt sorry for myself for a couple days, and then I was on the road, so thankfully my dad was able to wire me some cash to keep me afloat, and I had Apple Pay on my phone so I could keep functioning, because all my credit cards were canceled. The new cards were being shipped to my home in Florida, and I was like stuck with no money. So there were even nights like traveling where I couldn't get a hotel room because all the hotel rooms required a credit card to put down. So sleeping in my truck and doing these podcasts on the road, but I kept my focus on the future, and I'm like, I'm gonna keep capturing these interviews, keep working toward the future. I can't just crumble and roll over and die right now. These are the times that really test you and define your character. And like, you can't give up in these moments. I think some of the most successful people in the world have probably been wiped out multiple times in their life. You find success and then you have horrible failures and mistakes and unfortunate circumstances and bad luck, and you just pick yourself up and do it again. If I've done it before, I can do it again. So that's what I'm telling myself. I'm gonna keep a positive state of mind, and rather than coming from a fearful place, I'm gonna come from a place of love and acceptance and realizing that everything happens for a reason. As shitty as this is, I think there's something to be learned, and maybe that's that money isn't everything. I still have my health, and we're witnessing a close family member struggle with his health, and I'm telling myself like, you know, maybe my finances have been stolen. Hopefully I get them back, but maybe they've been stolen, and that sucks, but at least I'm not in a hospital bed, and I have the opportunity to keep pushing and make up for what I've lost. And thankfully, I'm in a place where I'm primed and I've got some momentum pushing me forward to keep doing what I've been doing and climb out of this unfortunate situation and take it as a lesson rather than a failure. And I had a conversation last week that really helped me reframe life. This was Troy Eckert. He was one of the he was employee number 1 at Volcom. He helped that brand rise to the success that it had and spent several decades there, and now he has transitioned into more of a position of, like, a mental coach. One thing he said to me that really stuck out was, "Life doesn't happen to you, life happens for you." And what he's saying is that, like, when bad shit happens to you, it's not happening to you, it's happening for you. And there's always a silver lining. And no matter how shitty something seems in the moment, there are lessons to be gained from that situation. And there's strength and wisdom to be gained because when you can claw your way out of, the worst days of your life, you have so much more wisdom and strength to conquer the next challenges that come. And I think it I think these experiences humble you too, and you gain more empathy, and suddenly things that you were like stressed about before aren't as important. And yeah, so I'm taking this as a lesson and not a failure. And life is happening for me, it's not happening to me. So whatever this shitty year has been like, I think I'm going to be a better person on the other side of it because of all the challenges that I've had to overcome. So yeah, but on a positive note, dude, like thinking back on how we've done, and like the Spotify Wraps that I was talking about, things are going well. No matter how dire I'm feeling on the inside personally, like the the podcast is moving in a great direction, and I feel like I'm doing meaningful work that people appreciate. And if I can just add like a little bit of entertainment or richness to their day and maybe a little bit of inspiration in their life, like I'm doing the right thing, bringing positivity into the world. And that's what I want to keep doing. So, but yeah, when I was looking at the Spotify analytics, and just like looking at all the analytics for the year and how many people have, started listening to this thing. And it got me thinking how cool it would be during these solo episodes occasionally to like reach out to my audience and get some feedback from you, like ask questions, ask me questions, do like an ask me anything, and I can respond to your questions, or, give me thoughts or advice or feedback on what you think. And I didn't have time to do that this time, but maybe next time. But this time I decided just to text a few of my buddies. And these are all people who have been on the podcast. Some of the episodes are out, some of them are not out yet, but these are all close friends that I've interviewed on this show. And I thought it'd be cool to like ask them, like, if you were going to interview me, what would you want to know? What would you want to know about the show, about any question that you have about me, ask me a question. So I got some voice notes from some of my friends that maybe we'll run through. And I think we'll start out with my buddy Forrest. If I can let me find the text. All right, here's my buddy Forrest Minchinton. He's a surfboard shaper, motorcycle rider, all around cool dude. His episode came out a couple months ago, so go check it out if you want to. But here's Forrest's question.
What's up, Ben? Forrest Minchin here. Longtime listener, first time caller. Super proud of the podcast and what you've done with it so far. You've had some incredible guests. I'm honored that I was even able that I was one of them. But really, really amazing to see what you've done with it so far, and it's been really top notch. And I'm always excited every new episode that gets released. So um, hats off to you. I think we've been friends for going on 10 years now. It all started with a motorcycle trip to Bali, to Deus Bali, the temple there, and I think we connected on the fact that I think what we were doing within motorcycling was different, and maybe blending a little bit of surf and motorcycle culture together there. And I think you guys really understood us and what we were doing, which I feel can be a little bit rare oftentimes in the motocross community and industry. So my question for you is, now that you in this next chapter of your life, your career with uh Ride Beyond, with the podcast and whatever else you get up to, how do you I'd like to know how you foresee the industry evolving, and maybe not strictly in the race sense, but how do you see the motorcycle industry at large evolving over the next 5 years? And um, do you think it will trend the way of maybe the other action sports? But yeah, I'm interested to hear your perspective and um, what you have to say. You're the man, Ben. Can't wait to listen. But
Yeah, man, that trip to Bali was really fun. I know we reflected on it in our episode together, but that'll always be one of my favorite experiences on a motorcycle. And yeah, those were good times. But yeah, your question about the state of the industry in 5 to 10 years and how I think that's going to look, dude, I have no idea. I know that electric motorcycles are gonna be an interesting thing to watch. I'm really curious about how they're gonna fit into this industry, how the public is gonna adopt them. Right now, there's a lot of excitement, I think it's still in its infancy. It's gonna be interesting to see how these electric bikes fit into competition, whether it's motocross and supercross or things like X Games and Best Whip, because the technology is so different, that it's hard to combine the gasoline motorcycles with electric motorcycles in the same competition, but there's no avoiding that the electric bikes are coming, and so it's gonna be interesting to see how we adapt that into competition, and it'll also be interesting to see, how enthusiasts adapt to electric bikes. I think it's gonna be really interesting to see that play out, but I think that the electric revolution is coming, and I don't think there's any avoiding it. I don't think gas bikes are going anywhere either, but dude, it's gonna be fun to watch how it all plays out. And then as far as like the industry as a whole, I feel like the last several years, at least like motocross and supercross has really been growing, and it's felt like the sport is in a really good place and moving in the right direction with just the coverage, and every event basically is live. We've got racing all year. There's amazing personalities that are making it so much more entertaining, and like the sport as a whole, I think, is in a really good place to keep growing and keep becoming more popular and more mainstream. And hopefully that means more money comes into the sport so that all of these athletes can make a good living. Because right now, like the top riders get paid really well, but outside of the top few guys, these guys aren't making a living to where they could like retire after they're done racing. Whereas a football team, we've got all these teams across the country, and each team has like dozens of players. So there's like hundreds of professional football players all making millions of dollars, even if they're sitting on the bench. Whereas in pro racing, like there's only 20 to 40 guys lining up on the gate, depending on whether you're in supercross or motocross. And so there's 40 guys in the world that can qualify for this race. And maybe the top 10 are making like good money, and maybe the top 3 can retire after they're done. Like, that's insane for a professional sport where these guys are putting their life on the line and there's so much talent and dedication and hard work that goes into reaching this elite level. The fact that you can be one of the best in the world at your sport and not be able to make a good enough living to support yourself after you're done is unfortunate, I think. Hopefully the sport growing will do that, and just seeing, motocross continue to be at X Games and stuff like that. But maybe one day even the sport becomes mainstream enough to where we see it at the Olympics or something. Kind of like, we've seen skateboarding and snowboarding and other action sports reaching that level, that pinnacle of sports. It would be really cool to see motocross or supercross become an Olympic sport. I think that would be sick. So who knows? I doubt that'll happen, but maybe. That'd be really cool. I want to take a moment to talk about my absolute favorite gear brand. I got my first set of Fox gear when I was learning to ride in 1998. Not just because it looked cool, but because it meant something to me. That Fox head was more than just a logo. It was an identity. All these years later, I'm still wearing Fox, and it still means just as much. For 50 years, Fox Racing has been chasing the edge, pushing the limits of what's possible with moto gear. From past legends to the next generation of riders, Fox has never stopped evolving. And through it all, the mission has always stayed the same: build the most advanced gear on the planet for those bold enough to push beyond the limit. I've been part of this journey since I was a kid, and I'm proud to still fly the Fox head. Go check out the latest gear at foxracing.com. All right, the next one is my buddy Daniel Fickle. Daniel is a filmmaker. He's worked with me for the past 10 years on so many really cool projects together, and he's so talented, such a great style as a filmmaker. And I had him on the podcast. It hasn't came out yet, but we recorded an interview probably a month ago, and he's just a good dude. So let's see what Daniel wanted to ask me.
Yo, Ben, hope you're doing good, man. I got 2 questions for you. One is, what are some of the most meaningful moments out of your career? And 2, what are like some of the most scariest moments you've had?
I would say the most meaningful moments are not even like specific moments, but it's more about the relationships and the shared experiences with people who have become my best friends. I've gotten to travel the world and ride motorcycles all over the world and shoot photos and create films and do creative projects inspired by two wheels. And I've done it with some of the most talented people in the world that have this shared passion for motorcycles. So it's like you're having this shared experience about this with this thing that you both love, and you're both being creative and feeling inspired with each other and bouncing off ideas and creating this, beautiful story from this trip, and taking in a new culture and a new place and documenting an adventure in a really cool way. And I think for me, just gaining those relationships and friendships is the most meaningful thing that I've done. Uh, my best friends all have come through my work. So that's definitely, I think the relationships are everything. So I'd say the most meaningful thing by far is the lifelong friendships that I've built along the way and the shared experiences together. I think you asked what was the scariest moments? Dude, there's been a lot of scary moments, and a lot of them have been on these adventures. Like, there was scariest moments. There was one time in Costa Rica, I was riding. We were with Moto Safari. It's my buddy Wes. He has this company where he'll guide you on these really amazing trips in exotic foreign locations. And I did a trip with him to Costa Rica, and with Forrest actually. And we were ripping through this like jungle canyon road winding through the trees, this real narrow 2-lane road, but there were cars on this road and we were just ripping. And I went to pass a semi truck around the semi truck on the left, and then the road turned left. And as I was next to the truck, it cut the corner tight and drifted into the inside lane. And literally, I could like almost feel the tires from this semi truck trailer grazing my arm as it pushed me off the road into this like off camber ditch going like 60, 70 miles an hour. And I just was able to keep it upright, but I was on this sloped, rocky surface that was, and like trying not to wash out the front end and fall into these wheels that were right next to my face. And just, I was able to ride it out. The truck blasted up in front of me, and I was able to get out behind the truck and avoid running into it and get back on the road. And I remember Wes looked at me like, oh my God, dude. And I definitely saw my life flash before my eyes in that moment as my bike was swapping out on the side of the road 6 inches away from these wheels from this truck, trying not to fall into the wheels. So that was a little bit of a scary moment. And then, you know what? Probably most of my scary moments have been with Wes. There was we were in South Africa ripping again. We ride really fast on those trips, which is something that I do like about it. But we were ripping around this, another paved road. We were going really fast, probably like 90 miles an hour at least. We come over a blind crest and like the road goes down and starts curving left. And then suddenly like we come around this blind corner and there's just a cow in the road walking across the road. And Wes, my buddy Adam, who's also on this podcast, and I are like 1, 2, 3 going so fast over this hill. And this cow, we just dodged this cow by like an inch. And I remember thinking like, oh my God, if one of us would have hit that cow, it would have been lights out. That's happened a few times on trips, dodging horses and cows. And I was in Mexico one time and going as fast as my 450 would go down a sand wash, and a bull walked out from behind a bush, and I just narrowly dodged its horns as I flew by it. And there's been a lot of moments where your life kind of flashes before your eyes. And I'm definitely not like glorifying that at all, because it's really scary and you're like, holy shit, that could have been bad. Not cool. But there's been some close calls. I feel lucky to have made it out alive. So thanks for the question, Daniel. Let's see. I think Dylan. Let's see what Dylan has to say. Dylan Wineland, he's another really amazing filmmaker. We just did that project for 805 called Duality with Tyler Berryman and Vicky Golden. Yeah, Dylan's super talented. I had him on the podcast as well. I've got so many episodes in the queue. He's one of them. Hasn't came out yet, but we had a great conversation. And Dylan's a very thoughtful and interesting guy, so I figured he might have some cool things to ask me. So we'll see what Dylan has to say.
Hey, Ben. Yeah, man, I think I thought of a couple good questions for you. The first one being, I've known you for, man, it's had to have been 12, 13, 14 years of like really knowing you. Obviously, I knew you and your family a bit from the track, but like you and I started working together doing video stuff. Yeah, probably like 12, 13 years ago at this point. And in the time knowing you, that I personally saw a shift in your being. Man, it's probably like 8 years ago or so. It's hard to put exact time on it, but I noticed a shift happen for you where you became a lot more in tune with yourself. Call it a spiritual journey. And I was just curious what the impetus was for that. Was there something in your life where this that caused this shift to happen? Where you decided you wanted to go deeper into who you are? Um, Maybe a search for meaning in life. Yeah, just the overall spiritual journey that I've seen you as a friend go down. When did that start and why?
Yeah, I guess I think that the biggest changes in who I am have always happened from reaching my lowest point. I think the times when life really challenges you and you hit those rock bottom moments, and I think everyone has those moments throughout their life. Things ebb and flow, and you have periods of good times and you have periods of bad times, and that's just kind of the cycle of being human. And I think it's those times when you reach those low rock bottom moments is when you're forced to step back and look outside of yourself and reassess and realign. And when you're pushed up against a wall and you know desperately trying to find a way out, that's when you're forced to look at your life and what you're doing and assess your priorities and move forward accordingly if you want to have a better experience. So there's been times where maybe I was in a bad relationship, feeling trapped, and points where you kind of lose yourself and you become like a shell of who you used to be. And I was stuck in that for a couple years, man, and feeling unhappy and lost. And when you get out of that, you have such an awareness of like what's important to you. And as you're rediscovering yourself, you have such a better understanding of like what matters in life. And you take these things for granted when things are just going well. And again, this year has been really hard in a lot of ways, and it goes back to that saying that life is not happening to you, life is happening for you. So when these really negative things happen and you get into these periods of life that seem to just challenge you and test you and push you beyond your limit to where you want to give up, and these are the moments that define you. It's not the top of the mountain. It's getting knocked down as you've climbed halfway up the mountain. And who are you down at the bottom after you've already put in that work? You were 3/4 of the way to the top, and you got kicked down all the way back to the bottom. Who are you in that moment? Are you going to get back up and climb back to the top of the mountain? I think finding yourself in your lowest moments and coming out of those moments stronger and with more wisdom and more empathy and more love, and not falling into fear and victim mentality. And of course, it's normal to feel emotions and feel sad and overwhelmed and stressed and anxious, but like once you can pull yourself out of that and work forward and move on to the next chapter and bigger and better things and learn from the experience, I think that's what shapes you. So, to answer your question, I think my inner growth has come from desperation and being in really dark, low points of my life and being forced to evolve as a human, physically, emotionally, spiritually, mentally, everything to cope with how hard life is. And I think gaining that inner resilience has been so valuable. And when I look back at all the shit that's happened throughout my entire life, and like especially the periods that were really low, like I wouldn't trade that because I feel so much more wise and in tune with myself because of those things, and more well equipped to approach life in general. So I'm grateful for the challenges, and I'm grateful for getting knocked down, because that's getting knocked down is when the best part about getting knocked down is the comeback story. So being able to pick yourself up, dust yourself off, take these failures or hardships as lessons. We don't have failures, you have lessons. And if you can take those lessons and actually learn from them and not fall into victimhood or fear, I think also like learning acceptance and like letting go. Letting go of a situation you have no control over, letting go of something that's not been working in your life, and it's really hard, but once you can do that, you free your mind to move past something that was holding you back or something terrible that happened that you have no control over. You got to let go and move forward and learn from the lesson. And you can't just crumble and die. You got to keep pushing. And those tough moments, if you can also, like, I always try to remind myself in those moments, like, this is where I sharpen the sword. This is where I see who I am. And I'm not perfect. I break down and I feel overwhelmed, and there's times where I feel like I can't take it, but you get through it.
My other question for you, more related to your podcast. I mean, you've had so many amazing guests on your podcast now, and obviously the common thread here is motorcycles, action sports. But outside of motorcycles being a common thread amongst all your guests on your podcast, what else have you noticed amongst each individual that has been a common thread, maybe in personality or drive? Yeah, it's kind of hard to word, but I guess, yeah, in short, outside of motorcycles and action sports, what's a common thread that you've noticed amongst all the guests on your podcast?
I would say it's very relevant to what I was just talking about. The one thing I think that's universal, this comes with being human, is that like bad shit happens to people. Like everybody goes through hard times. Everybody has challenges. Everybody has doubts. Everybody has insecurities. We're all walking through life just trying to figure it out. And bad things happen and good things happen. But when bad things happen, the people who do great things and live good lives, they don't give up. So it's never giving up. There's been so many stories already of just like hardships and challenges and feeling like you're at rock bottom and you can't go any further, but finding it within yourself to not give up and to keep pushing and keep going in the face of adversity. That's the common thread that I've seen. Everybody struggles. The ones who make a good life are the ones who never gave up. Thanks, Dylan. Next, we've got my buddy, Justin Chatwin. I love Justin. He's an actor. I'm sure most of you know who he is. He was on the podcast early on, one of the first episodes. Such a cool dude. Very funny, smart, talented, thoughtful. A very unique personality and a really great, genuine friend. And yeah, let's see what Justin has to say.
All right, here's my question for you, buddy. If there was one moment from the road that represented something transcendent and beyond words, something otherworldly, where, when, and what was it?
A transcendent moment. I would say the first thing that comes to mind would be back to the trip in South Africa that I was talking about earlier. When we were riding across South Africa, we were out there for like 2 weeks and riding mostly off-road through remote regions, kind of in the middle of nowhere. And there's these long, rough, gnarly dirt roads, and they're super dusty. So we would all kind of spread out so that we wouldn't have to just ride and eat each other's dust. And I like to just go last. I like to my friends just go, and I would sit there for 3 to 5 minutes as they took off, just let the dust clear. And I really enjoyed the process of like just riding through this foreign land in solitude and not feeling like there's somebody like chasing me down behind where I'm in a race. And I just wanted to ride my own pace and like take in the land and have this like sense of solitude and really take in the experience. So I was by myself riding. The whole group was like way ahead, and I'm just riding through this very remote road. It's early in the morning. The sun is coming up over the mountain ridge in the background, and there's this like beautiful golden light spilling over this wide open plain. And as I'm riding in the distance, I just see this small white horse running in the distance, running alongside me. And the horse just kept running alongside me and slowly kind of getting closer and closer and closer and closer until this beautiful white horse was just right next to me, running with me. And there's this golden light like illuminating this horse in this beautiful African landscape. And it felt like surreal. I don't know why. I felt like this weird connection with this horse, and like it almost felt like an angel riding with me in a weird way. It was a really cool moment, feeling connected with this animal and feeling connected with the moment and the landscape that I was in, and this really special experience. This like really special ephemeral experience that just felt surreal. So this horse ran with me for a couple minutes, probably 2-3 minutes. It was crazy. I don't know why, but he was just running with me, and it felt really magical. And eventually he just kind of peeled off to the left and ran off into the distance toward the sun, and I never saw him again. But I was kind of like speechless in that moment, like, wow, this was really special. I don't know why it was so special, but it felt special. And that's definitely a moment I'll never forget.
Second question. If there was one embarrassing ritual that you have that you don't want anyone to know about, what is it? Like wearing women's underwear when you ride? Or listening to Taylor Swift on your playlist and crying? What is the one secret that you would not want people to know?
I'm definitely not wearing women's underwear while I ride, but he did have a pretty good guess there with the Taylor Swift, although I'm not crying when I listen. But I think my most embarrassing thing that I'm actually not even embarrassed about, but it is embarrassing, is that I just love white girl music. Like when I'm down and I'm feeling like I'm in a bad mood or sad or bummed out, or I don't know, so like maybe I'll go to the gym and put my headphones in and put on some like Sabrina Carpenter or something. It's super embarrassing. But yeah, just like really cheesy poppy white girl hits, Taylor Swift and Sabrina Carpenter, and all those kind of female pop artists that have just really catchy poppy songs that are I don't know, I think it just gives me some dopamine and serotonin that I need in that moment. And I think those songs are designed to do that. That's why people love them so much. But yeah, listening to some really embarrassing Sabrina Carpenter when I'm feeling down, sometimes that'll lift me up if I'm in the right mood. But yeah, dude, that's my That's my embarrassing story. It's not really a ritual, but that's something embarrassing that I do. All right. Now that I have embarrassed myself, let's see. Tyler Revell. Tyler, you guys know Tyler. He's a photographer as well. Another one of my super creative, amazing friends. We've traveled the world together, everywhere from Baja to Mongolia, and lots of creative projects along the way. So Tyler was on the podcast as well. Go listen to his episode. He's such a legend. But here's what Tyler has to say. Let's listen.
Hey, Ben, I finally have a morning to myself, and I am able to send a couple questions out to you. The first one is, you've changed my life and so many others, from creatives to motorcycle riders. You've helped shape the career of so many friends and riders alike. I know without you, I wouldn't have, probably made it in this space. So I want to know, who has been one of the most influential people in your life? Is there a creative that you've really looked up to, an artist, a writer? I mean, obviously, I've always looked up to you and drew a lot of inspiration from you and the magazine, and I'd love to know who that person is in your life.
Who has been one of my biggest inspirations and influences? I would say the first thing that comes to mind is my dear friend Sebastian Zanella. If you don't know who he is, he's a French photographer and filmmaker, who his work is just like so beautiful and poetic, and the way he captures images is so unique, and he has a way of capturing emotion and a story within an image unlike anyone else. And his work is so unique and so beautiful and so poetic and interesting, and the way he sees the world is like so inspiring to me. So since I can remember, Sebastian's been like my biggest inspiration, someone that I look to as like, yeah, for inspiration, and his work is just insane. Like, we've gotten to do some really cool projects together, and I always appreciate his approach to capturing images and telling stories. He's a true artist. He has so much soul to him and his work, and just his message of being creative and saying something with your work, and the fact that he always preaches not to focus on expensive equipment. Like, if you're just starting out as a photographer, don't worry about the fanciest, nicest camera. Like, save your money, buy the plane ticket, go on the adventure. You don't need fancy stuff to have a vision. The vision is what will carry you. The creativity is what will carry you. You can capture beautiful work on something very simple. It's about having a vision and going on the trip and finding interesting subject matter and stories to tell, and capturing it in a unique way that, speaks to you and speaks to other people. So Sebastian has been a very big influence on my life and my creativity and the way I see the world. And I'm really grateful for the work that he puts out into the world to this day. He still inspires me with all of his work. I just got a book of his in the mail today, a new one that he put out. I haven't even opened it yet, but I know it's going to be beautiful. So he also published an incredible publication back in the day called Disillusion, and it's like skate, snow, surf culture, but like just seen through the most poetic and beautiful lens. And it was a big inspiration for me when I was starting a magazine 13 years ago, and eventually being able to work with him was a dream. And he's such a kind and beautiful soul, and I love that dude, and I wish I could see him. I only see him once every, several years. Hopefully I'll see him soon. But yeah, Sebastian has been a big influence, along with many other people, but that's the one that I think stands out to me.
And my second question would be that riding motorcycles excites all the senses. What you see, what you feel from your hands to your tires, what you smell, and what you experience on your skin. After all these years of riding, do you have a moment that awoke a sense in you that you'll never forget? For me, for example, when we were riding motorcycles with our friends in Mongolia and we were kind of gently disturbing this Mongolian sage while ripping, fifth gear kind of pinned. The smell of that sage, it was a sweeter sage than what we get in North America, and I don't think I'll ever forget that smell being pushed into my nose and just that feeling of freedom. And yeah, that sense and that smell will live rent free in my mind for the rest of my life. So I'd love to know which experience you've had like that. And yeah, just want to say I love you, brother.
Thanks for the question, Tyler. I totally remember that experience as well. That smell. I remember you look back and you were like yelling, you're like, that smell. It's kind of funny how smell is like the sense that's most strongly connected to memory. Like you can smell something, like as a 36-year-old adult, I can smell something that brings me back to my grandma's house as a young kid. Or I smell like fresh cut grass, and I remember football practice as like a 12-year-old. It's so weird how smell invokes memory like that. And I think from now on, anytime you smell that sage, like your mind is going to go back to Mongolia. And same with me. It's really cool. I think for me, it's another crazy story from Costa Rica. Something that awoken my senses was in Costa Rica. There was a lot of water crossings, and we had these KLRs that were like pretty impressive, man. We would be crossing these like 200-foot wide rivers that would go up to the gas tank, and like you'd be completely submerged under the water trying to cross these rivers, and you're riding at like a diagonal line to get across. And that in itself is pretty intense because you don't want to drop the bike and drown the bike, or God forbid something happened to you or get pulled under something weird. But just crossing these really deep rivers in itself was pretty gnarly. But these rivers were infested with crocodiles. Like you could go up on a bridge and look down on the banks, and there's just massive crocodiles in this water swimming around, laying on the mud. And like when you're on a motorcycle crossing this water, knowing that there are monsters lurking underneath that water, that if you make one mistake or if you're in the wrong place at the wrong time, generally you're not going to get bitten. But the fact that these things are swimming with you in this water, there's like this primal fear. Like when you're in a situation in the middle of the jungle and you feel like you are something's dinner, like when you feel like prey, that's a pretty heavy sensory experience. Like, yeah, there's something very primal about being confronted with nature and your mortality, and the fact that we're just a part of the food chain, just like everything else. And these animals don't care about my life and everything I've got going on in my life. Like I could just be a meal for that thing. When you think about that as you're in that moment, that's a pretty profound sensory experience. And it probably sounds like I'm being dramatic because like people don't get attacked by crocodiles often in Costa Rica, but it does happen. And we saw a lot of them. So just like when your mind wanders as you're in this deep, murky water in the middle of the jungle, you've got howler monkeys up in the trees above you. Like it sounds like Indiana Jones, these deep screams, and there's crocodiles laying in the mud on the shore, and you know that these things are in the water somewhere. Like that's a pretty profound sensory experience. So yeah, thanks for that question, dude. I want to give a shout out to my amazing sponsor, Rider Justice. There's a lot stacked against us as riders. The unpredictable things that can happen out on the road, and there's a general negative perception of motorcyclists in the courts when something unfortunate happens. Thankfully, there's someone out there who's been fighting for us, like really fighting for over 25 years, and that's Scott O'Sullivan of Rider Justice. Scott is not just a lawyer, he's an advocate for riders. The kind who shows up to rallies, sits on nonprofit boards, gives free legal advice to riders in need, and truly fights for our rights. He launched Rider Justice to stand up for all of us, on the road, in the courtroom, and in our culture. If you've been hurt in a crash, if you've lost someone, or if you just want to know your rights as a rider, go to riderjustice.com. The last one is from my buddy Aaron McClintock. He was also on the podcast. Aaron is such a cool dude. He has a great story. He's not like a famous rider or a superstar athlete or like some well-known person, but he's just one of the coolest dudes I've met with an amazing story. And similar to what I've been talking about on this podcast, he's had a lot of really unfortunate things happen and hardship that has really molded him into this interesting, dynamic, thoughtful, spiritual person. But yeah, I was curious if Aaron had any thoughts or questions for me. So let's see what he has to say.
Ben, what's up, dude? How the tables turn. It's pretty rad to be the one to get to think about some cool questions I would like to ask you if I had a chance. And it's not easy to come up with some because I've thought about certain things quite a bit over all the years I've known you. So two things that come to my mind off the rip. First would be something I thought about you yourself and all the the cool accomplishments and that you've had and things you've put out into the world, and the between the magazine and now the podcast, you've always seemed to give other people this opportunity to be themselves and put their work or their writing, whatever it may be, into the world. And so there's this quote that's always stuck with me. I heard years and years ago, but it was from Wayne Dyer, who I don't know if he's the one who originally said it, but he's who I heard it from. And the quote was about what a powerful realization it is to go from living life, thinking, what can I get, to now, what can I give? And the reason I think about you is because with everything you've done has been more, it seems like like an offering. I hope, it seems to me, you get a lot of satisfaction yourself, maybe paradoxically, but you've just given so many people for a really long time opportunity for them to put their best self into the world and be seen and supported and stuff, and obviously myself included. It's a lot of people very grateful for you and all that. So I guess the question is more, is that something that you consciously think about? It doesn't seem like you do it for you or to take something, for yourself. It seems like you just genuinely want to give, either give people or help people, or that by making this space, whether the podcast or the magazine, for people to to put themselves out there, that's also gonna, be a benefit to the world. So I hope that kind of makes sense. I would be curious, I guess, just to get your thoughts on that quote, and obviously nothing but a massive compliment from me when I say it like that. It's admirable, and yeah, we need more people operating like that in the world. So
Thanks for the great question, Aaron. I guess yeah, I don't necessarily like consciously think about that. I think my career has always been selfish in that I'm ultimately just trying to do something that I enjoy and create a life where I have freedom and autonomy, and I'm putting my focus and effort into something that is interesting to me. But along the way, you make friendships and you meet interesting people, and I get so much inspiration from the people that I'm working with and the people that I'm documenting stories on, and why not share that inspiration with the world as part of the work that I'm doing? So, you know, like it comes from a place of, selfishness in that I'm trying to create an interesting life for myself that's fulfilling and fun. But part of that, making that fulfilling is finding the value in what I'm doing and sharing that with the world, and in hopes to give them value. And the people that I'm working with that inspire me so much, giving them a platform to share that inspiration that I'm feeling, and like spread that positivity and that inspiration to, the people who listen to whatever I do. So yeah, ultimately it starts from like my own ambitions, but I think the bigger, greater purpose comes from spreading that positivity and sharing that inspiration and giving spotlight to interesting people who are doing cool things and talented creatives who deserve to be seen, and amazing people whose stories deserve to be told. So if I'm gaining value from the people that I get to surround myself with, like it would be stupid not to share that with them and with the world. And this can be, I think, the tide that rises all boats. We're all in this together, and we can all support each other and work in a way that is complementary to what we're all doing. So I'm helping people and promoting people through what I do, and vice versa. They're helping me, and like I'm building this new audience with this podcast, and right now I'm gaining a lot of help from the people that I'm interviewing who have large audiences who are helping me expose this new thing to them, and it goes both ways. So ultimately, it's like if I find value in these people I work with and these stories that I get to tell about these amazing humans, like why wouldn't I share that with as many people as possible? So
second, this might seem a little strange, but it must have been, I don't know, maybe 2-3 years ago, or uh, at some point you had posted um, a sunrise on your story on Instagram, and I'm pretty sure your caption said that you hadn't missed a sunrise in either multiple years or a year or something. Um, I was so jealous because if I don't have to be to work or something, I never ever catch the sunrise, and I wish I did. So I guess the second kind of silly question is, where's the motivation? Where does that come from? Is that something that has shifted over the years, or like you are just really um, deliberate about it, or you just genuinely want to be up for the sunrise, for the I don't know, the creative vibes or something, or whatever. Either way, I love it. I'm jealous. I wish I could get up and catch the sunrises more. Maybe that'll shift someday. But yeah, brother. Yeah, hopefully those are somewhat entertaining to answer or think about. And yeah, man, I'm just stoked always watching you grow and everything you're doing in life. It's always an inspiration. Anyways, happy holidays, brother. Much love. Cheers.
Cheers, dude. Thanks for the question, Aaron. Yeah, I've it's been several years now, 3 or 4 years, probably 4 years that I've woken up every morning and caught sunrise. There's been a few, like maybe I was traveling or some weird circumstance here and there. There's been a few days where like I didn't get up and see the sunrise, but I mean, obviously you can't be perfect, but the whole thing for me is like it's become just a really valuable ritual for me. I think like the act of waking up early and starting my day with calmness and peace and intention and walking, for some reason walking uh and watching the sun come up, it's just like it's a really peaceful space to connect with nature. Right now I'm living in Florida. I can get up, I walk on the beach in front of my house and watch the sun come up over the ocean, have my feet grounded in the sand. It sounds kind of like hippie stuff, but just being grounded with the earth and watching the sun come up and getting that early morning light is really good for your health. It's good for setting your circadian rhythm and giving you a spike of cortisol in the morning that gives you energy throughout the day, but just having that peaceful time in the morning where I can reflect with a fresh brain after I've had a good night's sleep. I can really dive into problem solving and creative ideas and concepts and think about the future and what I'm working on and what I'm working toward and my goals. And like I always say, these walks, this is where I figure out my life. Like this 30 minutes to an hour in the morning when I put everything aside and just be present and in the moment and contemplative. It's a space to just reflect and start the day on a positive note. And also it's like it's something that kind of defines the rest of my day. There's a story of the CEO of Netflix, and he lives by this one principle, and that is he will never miss a Tuesday night date with his wife. Every Tuesday night they go on a date, and no matter what he has going on in life, no matter what he has going on at work, he'll never miss that date night. And this defining principle means that every other decision he makes in life and throughout the week is determined by, I will never miss this thing. So for me, I'm saying I'm the type of person who wakes up to watch the sunrise. So that means I need to have a routine where I go to bed at a decent time so that I can get good sleep and prioritize good sleep so that I can wake up and I can feel good and I can start my day early. I can have this moment of mental productivity and reflection and meditation and problem solving and creativity and inspiration that sets me up for a really good day, a really good, productive, positive day. I'm starting my day early so I can get more done throughout the day and be more productive and feel in control and feel aligned. And I'm structuring all my decisions, around kind of this one thing where this one thing leads me to living a really healthy, productive lifestyle. So I think having something like that really grounds you in some healthy structure is nice. Having that moral compass, that guiding principle that helps you shape the rest of your life. And hopefully it's a healthy thing that you are uncompromising about. But like, I don't know, to me, it's just been a really great tool and something that I really enjoy. And it's like the most important part of my day. I find a lot of peace, and I generally come walking back to my house feeling very calm and motivated to dive into work and do something creative and be productive and feeling in control because I've taken the time and space to process everything that's going on. And no matter how hectic things are, like I feel like I'm not spiraling because I've taken the time for myself to mentally go through that mental inbox, all the things that are going on, read through those emails in my mind, and get to inbox 0 so that I can start my day and feel grounded and present and happy and inspired and motivated and productive. So, not to mention, it just feels really good to be outside in the morning and start the day getting the blood flowing and moving and getting sunlight in your eyes. Just really, helps your mood, and I highly recommend it. It's probably challenging the first week or so until you build up the routine. I don't even use an alarm. I just wake up at the exact same time every day. But if you have to use an alarm for a while to like force yourself to like wake up and get into that routine, then it starts to become natural. I think it's really nice. I really enjoy it. So yeah, I appreciate everyone who has listened to the podcast this year in the first year. I'm very aware and grateful how lucky I am to be in the position I'm in to do this and have this kind of support and do something that I enjoy and not have to work a job that I hate. I'm super grateful. But it's been a really tough year, and 2025 has been probably the hardest year of my life, and hopefully it will be the hardest year of my life. Who knows? But a couple weeks ago, I was laying in bed, feeling like I was having a panic attack or something, and just knowing that, like, you know what? Maybe today is the worst day of my life. And that's such a cool thing because now I've got it over with. Though if the worst day of my life is behind me, and maybe it's not, but everybody has their worst day. And if you can get through your worst day, you can get through anything. So if I can get through my worst year, I can get through anything. And the fact that it's been the hardest year of my life, and the outlook feels so positive, like the future feels so positive. I have so much potential with what I'm doing here and with what I'm building at home with my fiance, and the fact that there's a beautiful future in front of me despite all the challenges and anxieties and fear and uncertainty and just getting knocked down time and time again. I feel grateful to get through it, to learn from it. And I feel grateful that I'm standing on steady ground to just keep pushing forward. And like all of these amazing people that I've interviewed, never give up. So hopefully, anyone out there who's like dealing with hardship right now, and, I know the hard times are going to continue. This is going to be a process, but I hope you guys maybe feel less alone, just knowing that it's we all go through it. We all go through the periods of life that are challenging. So you're not alone. I'm not alone. We just got to get through it. Learn from the hardships. Life's not happening to you, it's happening for you. So as crazy as it might seem in the moment, just try your best to like think about like what lesson am I learning through this experience, and how can this make me a better person moving forward, and how can this make me more grateful or more present or more resilient or more thoughtful or more aware, or realign my priorities to the things that actually matter. So hang in there. Anyone who's having a hard time, thank you for everyone for supporting this and giving me hope for the next year. I think it's going to be amazing. I just spent 3 weeks in California doing a ton of really incredible interviews with like some epic personalities that I think you guys are really going to like. So let's have an amazing year. Thank you all so much, and Happy New Year. Cheers. As someone who's been pushing hard my entire life, as a writer, a creative, and an entrepreneur, I've learned that performance isn't just about effort. It's about recovery, clarity, and taking care of your body. That's why I've made wellness a top priority. And one thing that stayed most consistent in my routine is the Echo Flask, a water bottle that infuses your water with molecular hydrogen, improving cognitive function, reducing oxidative stress, increasing natural energy, aiding in muscle recovery, and boosting mitochondrial function, which means longevity and vitality so that I can continue doing what I love to do for life. And you get all of this without the crash, inflammation, and long-term damage of the toxic, sugary energy drinks that dominate our industry. Now I know what you might be thinking. Doesn't water already have hydrogen? Technically, yes, but it's bound to oxygen as H2O. Your body can't absorb it in the same way. So the Echo Flask uses a high-end electrolysis membrane to split the hydrogen from oxygen and infuse the unbound molecular hydrogen into the water, making it more bioavailable and incredibly powerful for your health. This isn't woo-woo stuff. It's science, with over 1,500 studies behind it and more than 20 years of research. It's been a game changer for me. And if you care about longevity and performing at your best, this is completely worth it. Grab your Echo Flask now at echowater.com/ridebeyond and receive a special discount just for listeners of this show. That's echowater.com/RIDEBYND.